Today, I am super excited to be chatting with my old friend Zac Vance. You might know him for a lot of things. I know him for having some grudges on me for some hinder calls. Please welcome to the chat, Zac. How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm on the back half of this cold winter, not flu, but terrible cold season, and otherwise pretty good. I'm really excited to chat with you because I love getting to share people's stories and also talk about like what other people are probably experiencing too and growing and changing in Roundnet. So I'd love to start just talking about your journey a bit, how you've kind of come into the scene, maybe taken a hiatus, and now you're back. I mean, in full force. Congrats! I know I was texting you about it. Huge addition for the Lemon Lads. I feel like if anything, you actually adopted them because you're the OG, like picking up a whole club. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe it's a hot take.
I'll take it.
I'd love to go way back though, back to your days in Merced, California, where you were playing with Marlon on the Death Eaters. We see the jersey here in the video. What was like the starting point for you for really getting the bug for Roundnet? Tell maybe a little more about your competitive, your athletic background before you really became a baller.
Yeah. So I played a lot of competitive sports growing up. I played soccer like at a pretty high level for the most part. I played for like a Mexico farm team. I played goalkeeper for like a pro indoor team, quotation marks, but it was a good time.
As pro as Roundnet is.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more, but it kind of depends. But basically, I got really competitive with Spikeball or Roundnet rather. When we went to a tournament for the first time and we played Handsome Beavers. I remember we were like watching the videos and be like, these guys suck. None of them are athletic. Like we are so much more athletic than they are. Like this is gonna be so free. Then we went and got destroyed by Handsome Beavers. I think we scored probably like 6 points total in a 2-game series in the first round. And then we're like, dang, we want to play more and more. So we started like grinding a little bit and like playing a little bit more serious. We got better than pretty much everyone in our like immediate area, But a huge thing that was helpful was that this is a super throwback, but we'd drive an hour to go play with Valley Dogs, which were Ridge and Alex from Fresno. And so we would go drive to them because we were like, we have to drive to them. They're so much better than we are. And just practice with them for like probably like 4 hours and then drive home. And through playing against them a bunch, we started getting better and better and better. And then we went to 2016 Nationals in Washington, D.C. And I just remember sitting there watching two guys play Chico Spikes in the finals. It was like the craziest games I've ever seen. I was like, wow, this is so much more fun than I like even started to realize. And so then kind of like took off. 2017, we got Premiere, and then the rest is pretty much history, So, a good time.
That's solid. I'm curious, after you like passed that like initial threshold of really catching the bug, what were like the aspirations? I feel like so much of the discourse today is about like the grind to Premiere, the grind to Pro, or whatever other like titles you might be pursuing in your various like areas. Like what was it about for you that drew you to that other than just being competitive? Was there something more you saw in trying to become like a high level Roundnet player?
Yeah, I don't know, I like making plays, I like posting the clips on Instagram and seeing the little number go up and up and up and up. One of the big people that I thought was like insane around it, probably my favorite player was Fitzy, Ryan Fitzgerald, and just watching him make plays in general, I was like, dang, I want to do that. I like the recognition of like making a good play. It almost feels better to me to make a sick play and have the crowd cheering for you than it is to, like win sometimes. Obviously winning's pretty important because if you're winning, that means you're probably getting more chances to make those plays. But I think just like, today's day and age, it's all about serving and things like that. And kind of like the art of getting defensive touches and converting them is kind of lost, But
do you feel some responsibility in like holding on to that or trying to push that with the content you do?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, I think part of it is like I
possible?
said, a little bit at least. I mean, you get a sick play, the number goes up, and people are seeing that, and then instead of the regular influence of like people hitting serves and going on runs, I think that's what people get really good at really easily. But I think the more people post like defensive touches, long rallies, and stuff, that's what gets. I mean, at least for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, that's what gets you started around that. You like love the rallies and diving around with your friends. Like it's almost more fun when you were bad because like the rallies just wouldn't end.
Something weird at the high level I've noticed on that is like the people that leave the sport tend to characterize like not liking the serveball era that we're in, and so they
Yeah,
leave, and so then the people that are here like serveball, and so that when we talk about what's good for the sport, people say serveball is what they like the most versus like for you saying, oh, the rallies are really what drew me in, or that's what's a good time with my friends playing casually.
yeah,
So it's interesting to see like who has like that perspective where they're coming from, and then like if people who like rallies aren't part of the active discussion, then no one's going to advocate for rallies. So
yeah.
it's
True.
almost like falling to someone like you or myself who played at a time when you could watch Chico and two guys do the craziest rallies, and that was what the top level was.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It is crazy seeing like now like I I think like Kieran's a good example of this. Like he just grinded out his serve so much, that now he hits
Mm-hmm.
them super wide, and not that he's bad at the other things per se, but
It's pretty good, yeah.
his serving is definitely very exceptional and makes him what the like player he is. Then you get kids coming into the sport and watching, and that's what they see. They're like, that's how you get good. So then they want to serve like Kieran or Gabe or Ryder or whoever else, Dawson. But it's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely harder to appreciate like the serve receive or like the just really good ball control on sets and defense.
Yeah.
Because you have to digest it and analyze it. Like anybody can see an ace and see that is exciting. So it's easier to bring the serve ballers into the community also.
Yeah, I agree. I
Very simple
agree.
message. I'm super curious about, we were talking about like Kieran getting to the top of, with some serving recently. Wanted to check like what you make of, you took some time off. I actually don't have the exact dates. If you can remind me like the time you took away from playing Roundnet and just talk about, if you like, what brought you back in really after taking time away?
So I stopped playing. It was like 2021, 2020, 2020, sometime around that. I tore. I was playing in a tournament with Henry Pleskach, this guy from Penn State. He was relatively nobody. We're playing against Dan Banowski, Bono, and Cole Modell, and I like turned to run for the ball, and I like tore my meniscus in the middle of playing. So I had to not play for like, it was like, I don't even remember how long, like 6 months or something, but it was crazy. And I basically just was sitting around, kind of bummed about Spikeball in general and the direction it was going, and um, or well, around it, and the direction that Spikeball as a company was going. So I kind of found it hard to like want to play, especially since now I've been 6 months removed. I'm not gonna be as good as I once was, and it makes it like hard to like want to be out there. And a big thing too for me was that like Spikeball has grown, especially since like 2016, even. Basically everybody knew everybody, but now it's a lot bigger, and so like I don't have necessarily the same friend group or the same connections I did with like a lot of those people. Like where
Mm-hmm.
like before you get to know everybody here, it's like, oh, like who is that? I have no idea. He's in our pool. Like you just don't know. Um, but big thing that got me coming back was I started playing in New Jersey with Gabe Funaki, and I started like catching the bug again. I played a couple tournaments in 2022. Wasn't like super content with how I played. Played Raleigh with Connor Hart. We did decently well, and then I took another break for like basically another year. I was like, this maybe this isn't for me. But then I slowly started getting fat because I was just sitting around, and I was like, I have to do something. Started playing with Gabe again. Started getting good. There's like all the Lemon Lads were a big part of that. I met Josh, Data Matt Spo, Mike Garrett, Jake, uh, Dylan Wakely, all those guys.
Don't miss any, otherwise they're gonna feel left out.
Yeah. Can't miss them all. Anyways, all of them. But once I started meeting them, they kind of, not necessarily took me under the wing, but I started hanging out with them more. And like the thing we would do together is play Spikeball. And I remember Gabe telling me like, dude, you're still like so good. Like you just need to grind a little bit, and like you'll like you can still be pro level, and that kind of like
that's a
lit a
nice thing to
fire
hear. You know,
under me.
I can't say Gabe has ever complimented my game, but if he did, it
Yeah.
would probably do wonders for me feeling motivated to get better.
Yeah, exactly. So once he said that, I
feel
was like,
that.
I probably should grind a little bit. And then so now we play pickup pretty often, and just got done playing Chattanooga, and I'm getting the itch to play. Join the Lemon Lads, and it's been pretty hype ever since. So
That's great.
I'm having
I just
a
want to
ton of
highlight.
fun.
I feel like the experience can feel like unique in some ways, but for everybody, like having that community around you, whether they're good at Roundnet or bad at Roundnet or getting better, just like having the group of friends that want to do the thing with you, if it's Roundnet or something else. Obviously, I'm biased. I like playing Roundnet, and that's how we grow the sport. Is people like the guys in Jersey bringing you in and getting you back on the hook. Like
yeah, for sure.
That's kind of what we need, like a lot more of all around the world, and especially in the US is like just, yeah, Zach, it's okay if you're rusty.
yeah, exactly.
We still just want to hang out.
I think that was a big thing for me, especially with my competitive like edge, I guess, or a competitive bug is that like I don't want to lose. So then if I lose, I'm like, I don't want to do this, but it helps having friends around that you're like okay to lose too sometimes, But yeah, it's a good time.
That's sweet. I want to drill into, you said like you weren't super happy with like the state of both Roundnet and also like the company Spikeball. I would love to go into maybe just like the pro scene. I think is where we've talked a bit like offline, and also that's where you have some player experience. So I'm curious, like if you could go into a couple things, what your concerns are, and have they been the same over the past couple of years since you've started playing a little more, or have they gotten better or worse? I'm super keen, and I think I might disagree with you. So
okay, for sure.
Not trying to bait you, but
yeah.
I love the perspectives.
I think a big thing for me is that the way they handled pro players in general was kind of tough. They expect these guys to, for example, Strange Embrace, Preston and Troy, and people like that. To like just go to these.
So just to be clear, you're talking about like OG like Spikeball Elite players from like 2015,
Spikeball
16,
Elite,
17. If you don't know these names, you can look at the greatest Roundnet teams of all time. I did a little synopsis video, but yeah.
But yeah,
just for those who don't know who those people are.
yeah. They're expecting them to travel to this stuff every weekend and do like pay to basically play and then not really make money doing it. So like the prize money was very small. The tournaments weren't changing a lot, IMO. And these guys are going to tournament after tournament after tournament, and it kind of just takes a toll on you. Life starts to happen. I know Devin had a kid. I'm sure we all know that friend that like used to play.
Jared's got 2 kids.
Yeah, Jared's got 2 kids, but he still makes it out sometimes, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, do like the local stuff.
Yeah. So it's just like the way they handled money, in my opinion, was a little tough, and to expect these guys to be doing things for free, of like traveling and stuff, and not necessarily making the money that they could be making through a sport, is I'm trying to think of how to phrase it.
I can jump in with a question if you want to think on it.
That would probably be better.
You were saying like these guys are expected to travel like every week or something. I don't think Spikeball has like ever put like I got like a tour series, but like you got to go to all of these. Like sometimes there's like there's auto bid some years. There's been like pro points chases other years. So in a way, you have to go to like some number of tournaments to like qualify for like the pro division. Is I think like that's what his focus is. But I don't know if I totally buy that take. I might have to sell that take.
Yeah, that's fair. I think big
but
part
I do
of it
agree.
is
I do agree. It's hard to go to a tournament and win and then come out negative. I think like yeah, I'm curious what you think about like do you think Spikeball is like telling players like, hey, like this is legitimately like a professional sport and like you should expect to make money?
I don't think that's necessarily, not in that many words, but I do think that they're like what's the word? Mission statement was the next great American sport. They had big aspirations of like joining the Olympics, and in order to do that kind of stuff, you have to play these tournaments. I think, right? Like if you're missing tournaments and not really going, and you're only going to a couple, and maybe you don't do so high. I mean, look at Worlds. There's only so many spots available. The teams that probably get picked. I mean, I'm not on the board or anything, but if Rogue wins one tournament, but say I went and did well at one, I'm not going to be in consideration versus Rogue, right? They want these guys that are more well known. But when they're telling people this, and then the prize money doesn't even equate to like the time you spend, is kind of tough.
Yeah, I gotta break up a couple things just because. So
Yeah,
Worlds is like a USA round, I think, separate from Spikeball. So
yeah,
those are two different groups as far as like processes go. But I wonder. Well, I guess for you as a player, and maybe this is going back to like the Global Beans, like Death Eaters era. Do you feel like the expectation was like I am expecting that if I play really well, I will make money? Like that is like the expectation that I have as a player. And do you feel like you had it as a player? And do you feel, and do you also feel like the Spikeball Tour Series like communicated that to you as a player?
I think
I'm
it
super curious
wasn't
about the
necessary.
expectations.
Yeah, I don't think that was the expectation, but I thought that it was more expected that this could eventually go somewhere, right? That the sport is continuing to grow and they're doing things bigger and better every year. Does that make sense?
Like because it's getting bigger,
Yeah,
that there should be expectations.
yeah,
Interesting.
and the prize or the price of tournaments was going up with very little change in tournaments, especially
Yeah.
during 2018, 2019. I think there was
Without having like the budgeting for things in like 2018, 2019. My big hot take on like the Spikeball Tour Series in general is it's actually marketing, right? Like the Spikeball Tour Series, they're like marketing their brand, they're connecting with players in the community, they're trying to build connections with like customers, right? Like, yeah, we're athletes, and like we're athletes under, in my opinion, humble opinion, like the USA Roundnet like ecosystem, the International Roundnet Federation. We're not like Spikeball athletes. Like that would be like a Spikeball brand ambassador thing, right? Like Team Spikeball. So for Spikeball, if we're not paying for the tournaments, they're marketing like to us. Like they're paying money out of their pocket, out of sales, so that they can like make the event cheaper. I know I know like one person was asking recently why like for the 2024 season why like one of the STS majors costs less than like one of the STS challengers. And the answer for that is probably because the money being made and the money being spent to run the challengers is falling on TDs who don't have Spikeball's resources. So I think that's like the harsh reality from how I see things, is that for a long time maybe things were cheaper because Spikeball like subsidized it, and maybe they subsidize it less now. And like that's I think an interesting conversation of how much should they subsidize Roundnet. But it's not like Spikeball. I don't think Spikeball has like ever made money on Roundnet. You know, like I think it's marketing, and if they do it well, it's good marketing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too.
I think it's weird. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think a lot of it too, though, is that they were buying in on the marketing a lot and not so much the tournaments. I think there's ways that they could have made tournaments more profitable in general. But I remember for a long time through 2016 to like 2018, a big discussion was that they're maybe not so much 2016. I wasn't as big in the or as knowledgeable on the scene at that time, but 2017,
you were pretty big after 2016. Yeah, you were it.
Thanks.
2019 man of the year.
But I think a lot of it had to do with that. That I remember Nora telling us that tournaments don't make any money. In fact, they lose money every time. And I think that's a tough look, especially because obviously they're a company, they want to be making money, and losing the money on a thing that they're doing for what they feel like is the community isn't very good. And I think there was just a lot of ways they could have made things better to make money. And they just weren't doing it.
Obviously, hindsight's 2020. Like there are definitely ways to like. I think most tournaments are very far from like good and great. In my estimation. So yes, to say that like tournaments 5, 6, 7 years ago could have been run better and made more money, so that Spikeball could put more money back into running tournaments and supporting the sport. Like, totally agree. I think that's like not something that we can solve right now, or it's probably not worth solving. But yeah, that's super fair to feel like you like as a player, we're growing the sport, we're gonna be in the Olympics. As like a pulse question, when do you think Roundnet will be in the Olympics? For everything you know. And it has to be a multiple 4.
Yeah. True. I don't know. It kind of depends on how the next few years go, I think. If IRF and USAR kind of take off and do a good job, which I feel like they are so far.
There's a lot of other NGBs, by the way. I want to say there's a lot of other stuff around the world. I know
the ones that pertain to me, though.
In the US.
But yeah, if those kinds of Roundnet organizations take off and do a good job, I think it could be a little sooner than later. But I think if those things fall apart for whatever reason, which I don't think they will personally, but if those things fall apart, I think it'd be a stretch to ever see it in the Olympics. But from my understanding, IRF and is taking good strides with worlds and things of that nature, which legitimize the sport pretty heavily. So I think maybe. So wait, what's a multiple of 4?
So
2024.
this year's a multiple of 4.
Yeah,
Paris is this year, 2024.
So I'd say 8
So,
years if things are going well.
Okay, I don't mean to like put you on blast. It's like a thing that it's first of all very hard to like do, and also like it's not something that you're super focused on. But I think it's interesting to ask like just like whether it's the average player or a pro player or an experienced player, like when do you think we'll be in the Olympics? Just like in my experience, like I've told my own family like I would love to see Roundnet in the Olympics in my lifetime.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think I like and I hope like, you know, to take care of my body and live for a little while and all that good stuff. But yeah. Yeah, that's I think 8 years would be like unbelievable. Like the story of Roundnet growing, not even just growing, but also like having the sustainability and like the player bases that actually would drive all the national federations across the world to really make it make sense for an Olympic bid.
That's true.
Would
I'll
be
say
nuts.
16 years then, just to.
Yeah, you can amend. But I didn't mean to. I don't mean to make fun of you. Though. I think it's an important thing that like as a lot of players like are hoping like, oh, like if I grind, like I can be a premier player and then I can be a pro and then maybe I'll be in like Team USA and then I'll play in the Olympics and like that will be my career. And it's like when I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, I want to like play pro soccer. Like I never played semi-pro soccer like you, but like I totally can respect the aspiration to want to be like a pro in something or to be the best in something. But there's so much work that goes into like making sure that there's like a whole base and foundation for the sports that the top of the sport can be recognized as like a pro sport. You might not. Do you know? I don't know. I'll probably cut that about like tennis stuff, but just when you think about like most Olympic sports, even Olympic sports, like the people that play them are like amateurs.
Yeah.
Right. So like yes, it's a really cool aspiration to if Roundnet was an Olympic sport, that'd be sick. And similarly, if Roundnet had full-time Roundnet athletes playing in tournaments, that would also be sick. But
yeah,
those are so much easier said than done. And
that's true. I didn't really think about that question well enough.
No, it's okay. No, I think you're thinking about it well, but I think the way you like maybe don't have, and it's not like a fault on you. It's like just where we are and just like how much we do or don't know about Roundnet and also sport development is we just know like the fun, like flashy, like top level stuff. Like there's a lot of hard stuff that has to get done. And honestly, like the stuff like the Jersey guys bringing in people and getting you to play, like we need to do that times like a million.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how obviously sports grow, right? The more you do that,
I'd like to think so. I don't know. I don't think we talk a lot about that in this community. Is like we have to grow the sport, like not with like our hands, like on blood, sweat, and tears, but like if there's not a lot of people playing Roundnet around you, it's a challenge. But also you could probably make some friends and start playing sports there. Just go hijack the pickleball courts and be like, hey, you guys want to play this fast-paced game?
Yeah. I'm not very good at that.
Just dinks.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think it is kind of crazy that some of the bigger communities like Florida, PRA, and things like that, how many people they get. Texas was a big one for a long time too. I think they're slowing down a little bit, but
yeah, I would love to talk to. I've been wanting to talk to the folks in Texas for a while now, and I think their story is also really interesting, similar to yours of like the ups and downs of growing and as a player, as a community. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I don't pretend to know what's going on in every local community. I know my local community has its own struggles.
Everything's different.
Yeah. I think that the challenges are there's many challenges that it's hard to get into. So I'll come back to more of just like this pro aspiration, and like you're back in the community you've always been in the community. You never left. You played Among Us, in 2020.
True.
So that counted. But like the why you're back, like is there, other than having like these friends and being part of a group of lads, is there anything that you're seeking to do? You've already been a pro player. Is it to be an STS pro player again? Is there some other achievement that you're chasing?
Yeah. So I think a big one for me. I mean, it's a little tough because I don't necessarily have a superset partner. But I want to get pro again either this year or next year.
Mm.
I think I have the capabilities to do it, which would be sick, and it kind of is like a personal thing for me that if I can do that, then I can do a lot of other things, in life I can that I can
Yeah,
get my grind back
it's
on.
fun.
And
It's fun to set hard goals in like a sport that's fun and silly.
yeah. It's
It like doesn't
also
mean much, but it could mean a lot.
yeah. It means a lot to me, I think, is the main thing.
That's what I mean, though, right? Like, yeah, it means whatever it means to you, like the same way that like being a premier player means whatever it means to a player.
Yeah. Also,
I respect that.
like doing being a bit of a meme player in general, yelling bang and doing the high toss serve and just getting loud in general. Me personally, I think I'm fun to watch, but maybe someone is right now thinking, no, you're just a
Actually,
douchebag. But
well, I was gonna ask you definitely can be edgy for people who don't know you. I'm curious. You mentioned you like seeing the numbers go up on Instagram. Do you have like in your mind when you go to play? Obviously, you're competitive, you want to win, but do you have also in your mind like I want people to enjoy watching this? Do you think about that in a tournament setting?
I do think about that, especially if we do start to get a crowd watching us or something like that. I like thrive off a crowd watching, and then I do something sick, and they're yelling, and I'm yelling, and the energy gets built up, and now the other team's kind of feeling down and out. But I just remember watching like CS play, and I love both those guys, but just thinking, man, they're so boring to watch. They just look like they don't care at all. Like they do their little 2-finger high five and switch spots, and it just wasn't super exciting for me. And I think
Right.
people showing passion and like being all about it kind of makes it way more exciting, at least for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. For CS, that was their strategy. Right? It was like let's remain calm, like let's be consistent, let's like be level headed, and not get too like not get too passionate because then we might get out of the zone. Like they're just in the zone.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're doing the job. The job is to win. Versus the other side of sports can also be like I'm an entertainer, I'm a showman.
Yeah,
Bringing people along with you.
yeah.
But yeah, so I'm into that too. I think like the following the personalities in our sport is a great thing. So having people out there that hopefully people aren't like hating you, but if it's like, hey, I don't like the high toss or I don't like the bang yells, then you can root for the other guy. Like people root against lots of teams,
Oh yeah.
players all around other sports. So like,
Which I
it's
will also
okay.
thrive off of. I would love for you to root
Yeah.
against me.
Yeah, having human reactions in our sport is totally fair. I wanted to come back to some of the pro stuff right now. I know you talked about feeling like things maybe weren't going great at the time in the past. Do you have thoughts on like you know a lot of pro players, you've played with a lot of them and against a lot of them through the years. What is your sentiment on just like professionalizing Roundnet right now? It's a big meaty question, so take as much time as you need.
I think as far as pro goes, I think a big thing is that I like about it currently right now is that a lot of teams are sticking together and playing together because when teams kind of flip flop around and switch partners from year to year to year, it kind of makes it hard to follow. You basically just you can't develop like a favorite team, right? That was like one of the big things with CS and Anchor that I thought were really cool is that they play together all the time. And when they go to a tournament, unless for some reason one of them can't, they were playing together. They were, wanted to get the points, wanted to show who they were, and develop kind of their brand and stuff like that. And that's why I really like Numb. I think that them playing together is really sick because they get to develop their brand. They're playing together at all these tournaments and kind of like, oh, that's my favorite team is Numb, or my favorite team is FM, Kingdom Come, Rogue, and them sticking together really like makes it a lot more exciting because now you can follow these storylines from
Oh,
year
I
to
totally
year
agree.
to
Yeah,
year,
the
right?
accessibility to see Kingdom Come. It's their third season now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is super cool.
Fully agree with that. Yeah, I think it's a hard thing to force on like a team or any one person to have to stay together, but it's definitely a nice thing to have some of those incentives.
Yeah, for sure.
Even like a Hilltop, right? Where like they literally did it last year for the brand, right? Like did not like have the best performances, but it was just like the fact that for you and me, we're like, oh, this is an OG team. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like I think when was the last tournament Death Eaters played? Do you and Marlon run one recently as well? It's just like the longevity of that kind of stuff is fun to follow those stories.
Yeah, we played the championship this last year in
That's what it was.
2023.
Okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, just being able to follow, same as we were saying, like following like the player individually, like the team, I think compounds that a bit too.
Yeah.
And I know some of the local community stuff. I've talked about it a bunch, and I've talked to the folks in Germany, but just like having the clubs that are like actually clubs, not like, hey, we're, no offense to the Lemon Lads, but it's like, is that a Roundnet club or just a group of friends? I think is like a hard distinction. But having like a legit Roundnet club is like totally where we need to go.
Yeah.
Instead of just having ragtag organizations.
Yeah, for sure. I think the US has struggled with that a lot. Like obviously they had like do Roundnet clean.
Yeah,
one
or
bite.
like trash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or like trash. But I think a one bite Roundnet.
Yeah.
But yeah, or like Fear the West or Origin. I mean, Origin really was probably the only true Roundnet club that we've ever had, in the sense that it was a group of friends, but it was also a group of friends that trained together and got better.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Lemon Lads are moving that direction though, so don't worry too much about us. We'll be.
I believe
we're on the grind.
Yeah, no, not even about like being good or bad, just like that. It's like a community that is like focused on Roundnet.
Yeah. I think
in
that's
the US.
a big thing.
In the US, the problem that is still had is, like we mentioned, you can just really get very good at serving, and that's kind of the meta. And you don't need friends to be good at serving. So
correct.
It's a very inward looking culture we have right now. And I do what I can. I think everybody really has some role and responsibility to grow the sport by being part of a community. It's the same way that, like, if we want to be in the Olympics, like, we're not going to be in the Olympics because Zac got really good at Roundnet, you know?
True.
We need a couple million people to get like really into Roundnet for us to get to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And so that disconnect of like, why should we care about what other people are doing, or why should I care about the people in my community, is like pretty hand in hand with not only having people to train with, but also like the general sentiment of like saying you care about Roundnet, but like not walking the walk.
Yeah.
Is very confusing to me. I won't say I don't really get frustrated by it. I just like, I have a hard time believing some folks who say they really want Roundnet to be in the Olympics, and then like don't ever do anything to grow outside of themselves. And I'm not saying you have to go outside of themselves. I think you just have to pick a lane. That's my hot take. I don't know if you think that's too hot.
No. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I agree that it's a little tough that like people say they want the sport to grow competitively, but then in order to grow competitively, we have to bring in a lot of outsiders, because like right now we are not athlete, aside from a few people, I think, but a couple.
We don't actually train like athletes.
We don't train 100%. Like athletes. Yeah, I think there are some that do, but it's very far and few between, which makes it really tough, right? And then the more we bring in more new people, the different perspectives we see, the growth of tournaments at a lower level, which helps develop players as they become older, and things like that. But if you're not bringing in new people, then it stops there, I think. But
yeah, it's hard though. It's definitely hard.
Yeah, for sure.
But getting more like clear on like what the task at hand is. Like the aim is we got to grow this thing. Or maybe we don't. We don't have to. We can just be a very baby niche sport and just spend money on a hobby. But as long as we do that, like the people that are training very seriously, like I don't know where the money would ever come from to support them.
Yeah.
So
correct.
Like if we want people to be able to do the sport and just do a good job in the sport playing, there need to be a lot of people that are paying like Paramount Plus for the stream.
Yeah, true.